Hello there. Welcome to Speaking of Business. I'm your host, Nancy Boyle. Happy New Year. We're starting a brand new year, and we've got two really exciting events coming up that we're going to talk about today. Joining me on the first half of our show are Beth Trammell with the Duval County Public School System, Elizabeth Paulson with Junior Achievement, and Lauren Little with Edible Arrangements. So, welcome, ladies.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you there. It's a great way to start off our year. So I'm just going to go right down the line here, and Beth, tell us a little bit about what you do with the school board.
Well, I am the supervisor of the Minority Business Affairs Office, and I have the awesome responsibility of engaging our minority business enterprises and helping them kind of navigate through our purchasing process to do business with the district. So I enjoy what I do. I'm passionate about it. I've been doing it over a decade, and so I get the opportunity to assist companies in doing business with the district.
Excellent. Great. Elizabeth?
Hi, Nancy. Elizabeth Paulson. I work with Junior Achievement JA Girls. We teach girls about money, careers, and entrepreneurship. I've been involved with speaking with actually It's Her Business now for the last 6 years. I'm on the committee. I can't wait to see it happen. I'm also a small business owner, and I believe in what this is about, teaching girls about starting their own business.
Yeah, and we're going to get more into that in a minute. Lauren, Edible Arrangements, tell us about that.
I am the proud owner of 2 Edible Arrangements franchise locations here in Jacksonville. I've been doing business in Jacksonville for about 5 years now.
Okay. And for anybody who's not familiar, I don't know how you could not be familiar, Edible Arrangements is instead of getting a floral basket, you get a fruit basket. And you might even get chocolate dipping sauce, which is so good. But anyway, I digress. So the reason that you ladies are here is we're going to talk about an upcoming event called It's Her Business. Elizabeth, since you've been with the program the longest, why don't you, kind of share with our audience what that's all about?
Sure, I'd love to. On Friday, March 15th at UNF, the University Center, we'll have 100 girls that are 16 and 17-year-olds come to the center and meet with 30 women business owners. The day is an entrepreneur day for girls. The girls participate in everything from learning how to start a business. Of course, they do a few icebreakers and get to know each other. They don't know each other. They've been involved with the program now, or they just get chosen by their school to participate. By the way, we have lots of room for girls to participate. There's no cost to them. The girls play games like this one that Junior Achievement has created called Balance, Break Even, or Broke, and they learn how to budget, which is important for a woman business owner. In 1 month, you have to stay within your income. So it's interesting to see them play at the end of the game to see if they still have money left over. So the day is set up for women business owners to make an impact on girls. And we've had great success. The program's been going on for many years now. Part of what makes it so popular is that not only do the girls learn to write a business plan, but they also meet, the women entrepreneurs are mentors to them. And the women entrepreneurs are also taught girl-specific strategies from Junior Achievement's JA Girls program. Like, girls like to talk a lot.
You think?
Yeah. And that's one of the things that the women business owners kind of leave a little breathing room so that the girls can connect with each other, connect with the mentors, and by the time they leave that day, they have ideas for starting businesses of their own, which is the whole purpose of the Small Business Development Center at UNF.
Beth, I'm going to flip over to you because as a representative of the school board, you're very instrumental in kind of offering this opportunity to any girl who's 16, 17 years old to
Actually,
participate.
15 to 18.
15 to 18.
Currently enrolled in high school.
Okay,
Yes.
so why don't you tell us about that and what your experience has been with the girls who have attended in the last couple of years? I know you've worked with them more closely.
Well, it's always exciting. It's young. It's 100 young ladies who are vibrant, who are excited. Always a lot of creative energy. And speaking about the games she mentioned, last year we had young ladies look at it and say, well, maybe I need to think about not driving a Mercedes. I might need to, downsize to another. But it's a very fun opportunity for them, but it's also very educational. It's a hands-on, fun approach, but they get what we're trying to teach them. And I like the mentoring experience. They get a chance to actually talk to business owners and see, real life success stories. Again, it's open to any students, any young lady, 15 to 18. It's for public schools and private schools.
Okay.
So we have information. If you're interested, we still have plenty of seats at this time.
Okay.
If you're interested in applying, you can call Maurice Haig at 620-1071. Again, that's Maurice Haig, and she can be reached at 620-1071. It's a day of activities from 8 to 2. We keep them engaged. It's a lot of fun, and we're excited about it this year. Looking forward to it.
Now, is it just for Duval County Public Schools?
No,
Or is
it's-
it just the greater Jacksonville area?
Greater Jacksonville area. The only thing is that we will not provide transportation. So if they can
Okay.
come, they register and they can come, they're welcome to participate.
Okay, so anyone in the audience who has a daughter or a niece or a sister or
Right.
whatever
Correct.
in that 15 to 18-year-old who wants to someday own a business, this would be a perfect place for her to start.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we talked about the students a little bit. Let's talk about the mentors. Lauren, you've been a mentor for a couple of years, so why don't you kind of share what that experience has been like?
It's very, very exciting to see the groups of young ladies coming in full of energy, having dreams and ambitions of becoming a business owner, and also the fact that you have a lot of successful women business owners giving up their day to share their knowledges and their experience with these young ladies. I personally enjoy it. It gives me an opportunity to reflect back when I was their age, and to give them an opportunity to ask questions. What's really important to me is that I'm a woman of color, and so oftentimes when you're growing up, you don't actually get to know a woman of color business owner. Very often when I grew up, I didn't know any business owners, so
Sure.
it gives them an opportunity to get that one-on-one dialogue with the business owner, and we come from so many diverse businesses that they can decide whether they want to own a franchise like what I have, or they want to have a small business, whether they're a dentist or they want to own a trucking company. The business owners are so diverse that have so many years of knowledge and experience that it's really an exhilarating day.
Well, and I would think too, yes, the girls are learning, but I would think the women business owners are getting a whole lot out of this as well.
Absolutely.
Now, are you in need of more mentors?
Oh, we
More
are. We
Okay.
can always use more mentors because sometimes emergencies come up and they can't participate. They can also get a hold of Maurice, and that's at 620-1071.
Okay.
And she'd be happy to send them an application. We have them fill out a quick application about why they want to volunteer. We do a little checking, and every single one of our careers is from a different field. So when girls come there, they're actually interviewing these women. We do a reverse interview. So
Okay.
the women travel around to the tables where the girls are at, and the girls get to ask them questions, and the women love to tell their story. Something always connects, and we've had different people that have connected with the girls afterwards, helping them on their way to becoming an entrepreneur.
I can remember years ago, after probably about the third year maybe, it was a Women Business Owners Awards luncheon. They were doing the awards, and one of the gals who'd been in the first program like this was invited. She had graduated from high school, and she had started her little business on the side while she was going to college. So that always makes you feel really
Yeah.
good, is when you feel like something that you've had a part in has enabled somebody to make this decision and move forward with it. So, Elizabeth, let's get the date, the time, and
Yes.
all that stuff down.
Friday, March 15th.
Okay?
Mentors are there from 7:30 to 2, and they're required to attend a 1-hour training prior to that
Okay.
on February 25th, and we can get you all the details on that. That's a Monday.
Okay.
So it's, again, Friday, March 15th, mentors 7:30, girls 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the University Center at UNF. Right off Alumni Drive. Very easy access, parking is easy, everything.
Okay, and we'll give out Maurice's phone number and the website as well. But I wanted to make sure that, the audience understood it was Friday, March 15th, basically 8 to 2. And if you're in Duval County, then Duval County is providing bus Bus transportation? No transportation.
No, we're not, unfortunately, we're not able to provide transportation, so each young lady would have to be responsible for
Getting
there.
themselves
Correct.
to and from.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And Lauren, I want to go back to you. What of the day's events, maybe you could sort of describe a little bit the day's events and then what you found most interesting or rewarding.
What I found really interesting was the board game, because it teaches the young ladies about money management, and that is so essential in life lessons. And so they realize that maybe they should get on a cell phone plan that kind of gets them interested in knowing how much their parents are actually forking out for them to have this so-called lifestyle that they want. But it also gives them an opportunity to understand that when you go into business, you need to be able to manage your finances. The business in a box is very, very interesting game that we play, where they have a box, they have to create a business. So the girls work as a team, and they come up with a business, and they actually have to write this business plan and present it to the business owners and as well as the audience. And so that's really very interactive, very creative. These women are just phenomenal to come in and come up with some of these ideas. So it's really, it's enlightening and it's empowering to see the future of our young ladies coming out of our Duval County and surrounding schools, that they have vision and tenacity and that they're going for it.
Okay.
Well
Now,
said.
And Elizabeth, since you've been involved the longest, have you seen any after effects? In other words, girls that attended earlier maybe came back a second time or contacted some of the mentors at a later date?
One of the things that we do is try not to have them come back a second time. We really want to open this up to as many girls as possible. But the thing that I hear reported is that the mentors, the women mentors that have reconnected with the girls afterwards, because they're passing out business cards and brochures, it's an opportunity to make a lifetime change in the life of a girl. It really does impact them. These girls, and you know, women entrepreneurs are the wave of the future. That's the way this country is going to rebuild. So I think if you've got a daughter, bring them to It's Her Business on Friday, March 15th. You won't regret it. It will change her life.
Ladies, I want to thank you for being here. I know it's going to be a successful event. You in the audience, if you have a daughter between 15 and 18 years old, or you know a young lady between 15 and 18 years old who might have an interest in starting a business, if you're a woman business owner and you would like to mentor the girls, you can contact Maurice Haig at 620-1071. You can get more information at the Small Business Development Center website, which is www.sbdc.unf.edu. So thanks for joining us, and don't go away. We've got another great event coming up in a minute.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Hello there. Welcome back to Speaking of Business. Again, I'm your host, Nancy Boyle. And now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about exporting. So joining me on the second half of our show is Stacy Roussel with the Small Business Development Center at UNF, David Dinkins with the University of Florida, and Jorge Arce with the U.S. Department of Commerce. So welcome.
Thank you.
So we're flipping from girls to businesses. Could be girls, could be boys. So Stacy, tell us a little bit about what you do at SBDC.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having us, Nancy. I wanted to start off with a little bit of information about exporting. Our Jacksonville area, the greater Jacksonville area, exported $2.4 billion of goods and services in 2011. The exciting part is that that's a 20% increase over 2010. So we can see that there's been a great growth in our area and a great need for more international trade training, which is why we're all here today.
Yes, you are.
So my name is Stacy, and I work at the Small Business Development Center, and specifically I'm a certified business analyst, which means that I can provide business planning, market research, strategic planning services to a variety of businesses. But more specifically, I'm the international trade specialist and a certified global business professional. And so that means that I work with businesses in a variety of stages, whether they're very new to exporting or perhaps they've been involved, but they're just looking for new opportunities, or maybe they're looking to transition from being an accidental exporter to a more strategic exporter. So how do we do that? There are a few different ways that we provide services. One is one-on-one, no-cost consulting. So they can sit down with me free of charge to go over where are they and where do they want to go. Then we also provide group training at very low cost. Everything from a 2-hour introduction to international trade to a 6-week, 24-hour introduction to international trade called the International Trade Certificate Program. And then lastly, we have customized export marketing plan services available. So more information on all of that can be found at our website, sbdc.unf.edu.
Excellent. Thanks, Stacy.
Sure.
David, tell us a little bit about what you do at the University of Florida.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to be surrounded by these experts here because I'm certainly not one on exporting. At the University of Florida, I work in the Tri-County agricultural area of Flagler, Putnam, and St. Johns County. So the ag area is really centered around the Hastings, Elkton area in St. Johns County, Bunnell in Flagler County, and East Palatka in Putnam. And I work with multi-generational farm families. That's
Okay.
very exciting. They're usually 3th and 4th generation. And really, we try to help them farm the best that they can, farm in a sustainable manner. And I know sustainable is a buzzword we use a lot now, but in the context of agriculture, what we focus on is farm profitability. This is a little business expo we're having right here, so it's got to be profitable
Absolutely.
to stay in business. And the other thing we look at and really emphasize is environmental stewardship. So I just get to have fun. I get to help people, and it's a blessing. And being part of the University of Florida, all of our information is based on research. And we have 13 research and education centers throughout Florida, all the way from Miami over to the Panhandle. In our area, we have a research center in Hastings. The primary focus is potato and cabbage research, but we also look at alternative crops. We evaluate over 1,000 varieties of potatoes a year. A lot of people don't realize.
1,000 varieties of potatoes?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
1,000
wow.
varieties. So it's very interesting. And then the other research center that serves the area is in Live Oak. It's called the Swanee Valley Research Center, and they actually have a small farms academy, and they're constantly doing workshops for farmers, for farm entrepreneurs, that type of thing.
Excellent. Jorge, finally, U.S. Department of Commerce. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the U.S. Department of Commerce focuses on exporting quite a bit. It is the Economic Development Agency of the United States. What we bring to the table, specifically I work with the U.S. Commercial Service. The U.S. Commercial Service staffs the U.S. Embassy's commercial sections abroad. Having said that, what I bring to the table is 160 offices in over 80 countries, which is where we get the intelligence, if you will, market business intelligence to be able to provide to U.S. exporters and potential exporters, not just on data, but also on cultural aspects and market entry questions. And that is the kind of service that we offer. I'm
Now-
stationed here in Jacksonville, and we've got domestic teams, if you will, that will focus on particular industries as well to provide industry-type help.
So between you and Stacy, and I know there's a couple of other organizations in town, you guys are really focused in on any small business that either needs to export or wants to export. And I think what we found through tough economic times is you got to start expanding your market, and maybe it's outside the U.S. borders. So for those small business owners that are out there in the audience who are kind of on the fence about this, Stacy, why don't you tell them a little bit about what exporting can do for them or why they should export?
Well, it's a great point, Nancy, that you make, which is that we've just come out of a recession. Some folks feel like we're still in the middle of it, and certainly small businesses have worked very hard to stay afloat. What we find, though, is that many of our small business clients who were engaged in international trade prior to the recession or were able to get involved during that time were actually hiring. They were growing, and their problems were really ones of growth and how do I scale up? Because the rest of the world, and especially in our emerging markets and in South America, they weren't experiencing the troubles that we were, and so our small businesses were able to benefit from that. Now, that being said, international trade is not an overnight success. You've got to be committed, you have to think long term, and sometimes you have to invest in the short term in order to get that type of result. But those who did really did incredibly well over the past several years, and I think Jorge would agree with me about that.
Jorge?
Well, exports have actually are up 60% since the recession started. I always like to do this because, of course, if you're exporting, and as Stacy mentioned it, you're not in a recession. And in fact, I think a lot of companies have seen the light, if you will, that the economy is countercyclical. When the U.S. is hurting, and usually that affects Europe, which is where most of our markets are, the rest of the world is not. And exports to India, to Brazil, to Colombia, to Peru have actually grown by double digits. And again, it's a strategic commitment that you need to do. And that's where I think our office offers the most value added, if you will, in that we need to guide some folks. Some folks are excited to get exporting, but they need to adjust their expectations. They need some training that they need to have. They need to understand the foreign markets they're going into. They have to realize that doing business overseas is not like doing business in the United States, of course.
Right.
But some people need to be told that. And in spite of what you hear in the news about the big news, we buy everything from China, that is not the case. We export quite a bit, not just products, but also services. In fact, food exports, processed foods is one of our big exports to China, of all places, as an example. But also machine tools, advanced machinery, medical equipment, all that is exported from the United States. U.S. products have a good reputation worldwide for being top quality. And that's simply because the U.S. consumer is very demanding. And I will say this, small companies alike, any product made in the United States is by default and by definition world-class. Well, you've got a world-class product.
Pretty good to know.
It is. It doesn't, and it's not a size issue either. 97% of U.S. exporters are small businesses, and by SBA statistics, 70% of those are very small businesses, meaning 20 employees or less. So exporting is a small business activity.
Okay. And now, David, I want to come back to you because we've got an event coming up.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the event and focusing in on farmers and exporting food products. So I'm going to let you tell us.
Okay. Well, sort of the genesis of the event, this has been going on for about 5 years. We were trying to sell a load of chip potatoes to a company in South Korea, the farmers were. And as Jorge and I talked earlier, it's about relationships and personalities. And it took us 5 years to work that out. But this past year, a local farm family actually sold a container load of potatoes to South Korea. And believe it or not, these potatoes, it took them about 5 weeks to be shipped there. But when they arrived in South Korea, they were viable and they made chips out of them. But that process showed me that, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Even though I'm University of Florida, I'm not an expert on exporting. So I'm so glad that we've partnered with folks like the Small Business Development Center, the Department of Commerce. We'll have experts from the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Enterprise Florida. I think I'm probably leaving out somebody, the Southern Trade.
SUSTA?
SUSTA. Thank you,
Southeastern
Jorge.
United States.
Trade Association.
That's it.
Perhaps. Thank you.
think
And so that's who we're partnering with, and the event will actually be in East Palatka. So we're hoping we'll get a lot of people out of Duval County, not just farmers, but food entrepreneurs that would like to process these products. And on their way there, they'll be driving down Highway 207. And it will be a nice trip because they'll get to see the potato crop that's just coming up, the cabbage that's being harvested. So it'll be a wonderful trip down to East Palatka. The event will be February the 26th, that's on a Tuesday, at the Putnam County Extension Office.
Okay.
And there is a charge. We're charging $15, and that includes lunch. We have a built-in incentive to call us ahead of time, because if you register that day, the cost will be $25. But you'll get a tremendous amount of printed resource materials. You'll get to meet experts like Stacy and Jorge and others. And we'll have a great time, and we'll probably have a home-cooked meal for everybody there. So we're looking forward to it.
Now, is this an all-day event?
Thank you. It's not going to be an all-day event. It will registration at 8:30, and we'll end at lunch, and we'll eat lunch, but then we'll have discussion during lunch, and a lot of that relationship building and networking that Jorge talked about. We'll enjoy that during the lunchtime.
Well, and it's certainly a good opportunity for anybody that's in any kind of food-related things to find out, is this a potential market for me? Is there a potential market for me out there in the world? And I kind of going back to what you were saying, David, about over the last 5 years working with these farmers and becoming more entrepreneurial. I mean, it is a business. You
Yes.
know, it is a business, and I remember when Maurice was putting together her list and coming up with something like 700, 800 farmers in Northeast Florida, and you look around and you see housing developments. You don't see potatoes growing. You know, I mean, it's really a huge market, the number of smaller farmers that there are.
It is. It's a quiet industry. Farmers typically stay to themselves. They don't toot their own horn. And that's a positive, but that can be a negative when it comes to marketing. And we did lose a lot of farming during the development time. And the farmers, you know, we did a lot of studying. What's the effect of that? Is that reason for concern? And certainly even the United States Congress, when they were looking after the 9/11 incident, they identified agriculture, food, and water as the top 3 infrastructure needs that we need to protect. So it's viable for our food security, for our health and well-being, and for our business community that we maintain farming in the area. Agriculture is also the second largest industry in the state of Florida behind tourism, and a lot of people don't realize that. So very important locally and statewide.
Well, I can remember there was a time when Florida was the #1 cattle state. I don't know if that's the right
Yep.
term. I was just floored. You think of Texas and cattle. You don't think of Florida and cattle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you wanted to say something?
No, I was just saying that the U.S. is actually a net exporter of food. We actually export value-added crops. And of course, there's, as you were saying, there, along the value-added chain, there's some companies, trading companies, that in the state of Florida, they happen to be located primarily in and around Miami, where they've got the contacts and connections abroad. And what they're looking for is they're looking for suppliers on this side. So we try to partner with those folks and leverage their contacts and their expertise to export. But the U.S. is a net exporter of food. Not so much raw product, but also processed product.
Well, and that goes back, I remember years ago we had a lady come in and we called her the jelly lady because she would always come in and bring these little jars of jelly that she made. So that's an example of somebody that could benefit from this event in February, correct?
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Great.
Any last words of wisdom, Stacy, from you
Well, I
two,
would
our
share,
potential exporters?
Absolutely. Well, I hope that those who have thought about it, perhaps didn't know where to get started, will come and join us, because really our expertise is how to get people over that initial learning curve. How do you get someone from, you know, I think there's a market out there, to I know where the market is and I know how to get there. So one last statistic I'd like to offer. You know, we focus a lot on our big cities in Florida, Disney World and Miami, but really the rural areas are also great exporters, and we're responsible for $1.4 billion in exports in 2011. And so we're really doing the right thing by shifting some focus into our rural areas, making sure that they're aware of all the resources that we can bring to bear.
Well, good. So I just want to kind of recap. David, Export Essentials is February the 26th.
Yes.
And it's from 8:30 to probably about 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yes.
$15 if you pay in advance, $25 at the door.
Right.
And who do people need to contact?
They need to contact the SBDC, and I think we know their website, www.
sbdc.unf.edu, and
Okay.
you can find it on our homepage.
Okay, and now also you mentioned the International Trade Certificate Program, which is a 6-week program?
It does. It's actually our most extensive and the most extensive international trade training really in Northeast Florida. It runs for 6 weeks. It's every Friday morning for a half day, so from 8 to 12. And I have to give a shout out. This is really a partnership between us, our friends at the U.S. Commercial Service, and also Enterprise Florida. And so what businesses can expect over that 6-week period, and it launches on February 1st of this year, is to go through each of the different areas they need to be successful, from legal considerations, accounting considerations, logistics, market research, etc.
Well, great. Well, I want to thank you all for being here, and here's to all the exporting that's going to take place this year. Thank you for joining us, and again, you can get information on all of these events at www.sbdc.unf.edu. So thank you for joining us today, and come back next time when we'll be speaking of business. Bye now.
You're watching Public Access on Xfinity 99, exclusive programming for Jacksonville Xfinity subscribers.
Yes, I absolutely do. I mean, I'm really taking this speaking extremely serious. You have no idea how serious I am. I'm investing my money in it big time. Oh my gosh. Well, if you've got a card, let me just. I will. I will give you my card. I would love to meet her. Unfortunately, she's just wide open to me here. Oh, I just.
She's a hoot. She really is.
I
She's
know,
great.
I've never met Mr.
Yeah, yeah, she's very dynamic.
She came over to my mom at the Women's Sisterhood thing and just blew her away, said some really nice things about numbers. I felt so good after talking to her. That's what she does. Well, let me give y'all all my cards, so. No, well, it's not my speaking card, but it's my tomato card.
Your tomato card, that's a riot.
I don't have a tomato card. I wish I did.
I'm gonna give you one. There you go.
There's a tomato card for you.
Zelda, can I get a